Hi, professionals. SoFeya Joseph here, author of Choreography of Awakening, international speaker, former Olympic figure skating coach, and founder and creator of Imagined Life, a revolutionary path to mastery of self that leads towards creation of your masterpiece, the life you were born to live according to your life's blueprint. Welcome to Professionals on Air podcast, a podcast where we discuss how to walk, talk, live, and grow authentically as a professional in the 21st century. It is my intention to bring you diverse and exciting speakers and prove that no matter where we come from and what we do, there are clear laws that work through us all that we can tap into to create what we desire. Happy New Year, everyone! And let's start today with a bang. And I have a pleasure and honor to introduce you to my amazing guest, my friend Kurt Bruckmann. Kurt is a core energy dynamics specialist in leadership, wellness, and transition, and having extensive experience in the financial service industry and real estate markets. He works with diverse professionals, helping them to discover and apply the energy of our inner potential to create desired outcomes. Welcome, Kurt. Thank you so much for your generosity and gift of time and wisdom to share with us today. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how did you get started?
Thank you so much, SoFeya. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on board with you here, and I'm really very thankful for that. And I appreciate our relationship and who you are and what you do for people by bringing them on and letting them speak their truth, if you will, and letting it all flow for all to hear. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Um, so when we talk about core energy dynamics, as a specialist, there's four concentrations: leadership, well-being, performance, and transition. In these four concentrations, it's very important for us to realize as individuals that we are simply that. We all have that in common with the fact that we are our own leaders. And with that, it's very important to understand that there's a process that comes along with leadership. And in the process of leadership, we need to be 100% in the process. And this also goes not just for leadership, but the well-being. Because in the core dynamics, we really strive for the four things of the leadership and being able to express ourselves in the way we would like to be. In other words, our who. Who are we? And with the leadership, that we would like to have well-being. Very important, as we all know, that our well-being, it enables us to progress forward in our desired intentions with the ability to realize that we are the leaders of our well-being. Along with the well-being is the performance as well. That we would like to perform to the best of our capability. And with that, I profess that we do that at 100%. 100% of everything, 100% of being a leader, 100% of the well-being, 100% of our performance, realizing that if we give 100%, then no matter what the outcome might be, important not to attach ourselves to outcome, to simply be it in the moment and to work through it. And our performance, our desired performance, will be achieved with intentions, not goals. Goals can be a outside influencer that if we don't achieve the asked goal, then we might decline in our energy group. Now, when I speak about the energy group, there are two types. There are the anabolic energy, which is the higher filling energy, which we all prefer. Then there's the catabolic. The catabolic is a low-lying energy and it's draining. It's not constructive like the anabolic. It's a draining and destructive, if you will. And we tend to lay there because it's comfortable being uncomfortable. So I always ask individuals and groups that I work with, tell me, What's it like being comfortable getting uncomfortable, or uncomfortable getting comfortable? See, there's a difference. And this is where we need to understand that transition. We're now into the transition. We've, defined the leadership role, the well-being role, the performance role, and now the transition is the action. In the action, we are now combining all the four into the one and moving forward in a process that is extremely important in all of this. So if I may, SoFeya, I'd like to explain in short detail, if you will, that the process is such. It begins with awareness. Now, the awareness, remember, we're dealing with leadership, independently leadership, performance, well-being, transition. All those four are intertwined into this process. Awareness first. Let's become aware of our surroundings, of our senses, which is what happens in awareness, because we are now in touch with our taste, our feel, our touch, our intellectual property, our ability to smell, our ability to hear and see. All these things provide us with the tools, in one way or another, to become aware of what is happening in the moment. And when we can come into the moment and be aware of how that is, we now are into the area of acceptance, because we are aware of what the issues might be or where our energy is lying at the moment. And with that, we accept it. That gives us the availability to validate. So we have now made aware of what the issues might be within ourselves or in our energy groups. And with that, that gives us the ability to, with the awareness, we have the ability to now accept it and validate it. With the validation, we open ourselves up to another beautiful word, opportunity. And don't we all desire opportunity? Yeah. Again, if we do each one of these steps of the process, 100% is very important. 99.9% is not 100%. Therefore, the outcome that we desire might not be such. It will shift because it's not 100%. Much like if we're on a mountain that's filled with snow. We're at the top. We pick up some snow and we make it into a snowball. We drop it. What's it do? It gets bigger and bigger as it rolls down the hill. We can't get in the way of that, can we? No. That's an example of that one little bit of not being 100%. And 100% is also a beautiful thing, because when we give 100%, no matter what the outcome, and we don't attach ourselves to outcome, they will be what they will. With 100% of our action and our ability and our knowledge to work it in the moment, and 100% is good enough. And that gives us the ability to do so. So with that, the opportunity, we now have conscious choice. There is choice and conscious choice. And I don't know about you or the audience, but I know for myself, I have made choice that wasn't conscious. And therefore, the implied intention was not what I desired. Many choices that could have been taken differently and in more of a progressive way and a anabolic filling way was not chosen. So with conscious choice, awareness, acceptance, validation for opportunity, 100% gives us conscious choice. Now we're in it. Now we are trusting the process of who we are, of how we want to be, and how we show up, and how we are working in the world around us. So we're in trusting the process. Now, the caveat to all of it is a transition, because now we are in action. And if we apply all what we've just spoken about, we are truly in a pure form of transition, which is constant. Constant comes from time. What does time do? It changes. It doesn't go past. It doesn't go more in the future. It just is changing in the now constantly. It's a continuum. If we embrace ourselves in the continuum of change, of transition, which we can't stop because it's in constant motion, we are all have that in common. Not to be fearful of transition, to embrace it, because of the process that we just discussed, we have established our inner understanding of our energy. And what our energy wants to do is thrive, and thrive with the body and the mind, three of them together. Though they may be separate, when we apply them to the technique that we just discussed, with the confidence of trusting the process in the transition, the outcome will be a glorious thing because we've given 100% of who we are, and that is good enough.
So how did you come to do this work?
Yes.
How did that happen?
I'm very fortunate, SoFeya. I had a grandfather who was very attentive to what was going on in my life. So a brief history is I have two older brothers that are 5 and 7 years older than I, and they're that close in age. So, they were it. They had one another, and I'm sort of the younger brother trying to fit in. Well, that was a little difficult because I'm not at a young age and I don't have the physical ability, and they're very athletic, things of this nature. So that all good. At 5 years old, my younger sisters, who are identical twins, were born. Now, I'm no longer the baby child, the youngest of the boys, always.
You're not important anymore.
Right. Now I'm that middle child, so to speak. And I'm playing that monkey in the middle, if you will. How to identify with my older brothers who really didn't want much to do with me, understandably. They're older and they're playing their sports and they're very athletic and they have one another. Now my sisters, albeit 5 years younger, identical twins, had each other. So where does Kurt go? My grandfather. Up until I was age 8, I spent tremendous time with him, and then he passed away when I was 8. But prior to that, he, in conjunction with my father, would start me out at 4 and 5 years old, walking through woods, appreciating gardens, walking with nature, not being afraid of it. I was fearful walking through those woods, SoFeya, at that age. And after my grandfather had prepped me for all this and taught me other valuable things, collect coins. A penny can be worth more than a quarter. Well, how could that be? Well, a penny, if it's misprinted in the mint, is now a unique penny and is more valuable than a quarter. The idea was save your money always. So these messages that my grandfather was instilling with me, and then when he passed, my father picked up the pace, and he too. Little did I know that it was in their being. This is how they operate. So after my grandfather moved on, Dad picked up the pace until I was 13, and Dad passed away then. So I had lost two of my major mentors at a young age. But the lessons they taught me were fabulous. In particular, the walk through the woods became not only during the daytime with them, one of them, but at night. And when I was about 5, soon after my grandfather had passed, my father insisted we like to walk after meals at dinner, after dinner, go for a nice long walk. Obviously, it'd be dark out most of the time. One night, we're walking hand in hand. He says, Kurt, we're not going to walk hand in hand anymore. And we're in the dark of the woods. I'm like, oh, no, Dad, yeah. He says, oh, no, we're not. Why? Well, what's wrong, Kurt? Uh, I'm frightened. Why do you have fear, Kurt? Because it's dark, Dad. Kurt, look up through the woods. I saw stars. I saw the moon. I saw light. Even on cloudy nights, didn't matter. Dad, where's the light? This became a procedure. We'd walk through and he'd let go and let me go ahead of him, be behind me. Where's the light? Kurt, the sun's going to rise. There's going to be light. There's always light. Then, as time progressed a little bit, and I was walking ahead of him on my own, he said, I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to go back to our house, and you're going to walk to the neighbor's house by yourself in the darkness. No, Dad, please, no. Kurt, yes. Remember, there is always light. When you keep walking, you will see the light of the house of your neighbor. There's light and darkness. It's a light switch. What do we do when we walk into a dark room? All of us. We look for that switch. We look for that light.
Yes, you saying that. I mean, I even did I write about that? Just remembering being 5 year old and scared of dark, and my parents wouldn't be home, and I would be running from room to room, turning the light switches on, and I wouldn't go to sleep with the lights off. It'd be like light everywhere.
Yes. So, we all can relate, SoFeya, and it's just how we relate to this. And, we all have so much in common, and that was part of the process. We've spoken about the seven steps, if you will, of the awareness, the acceptance, the validation, creating an opportunity, to conscious choice, trusting the process, and taking the action in the transition. I know it sounds long. I know it may seem a little bit much, but it's not. If we take each step at a time with 100%, we will get there. And the ability to face darkness, knowing that it's only temporary, because again, what does time do? Changes. It's a continuum. We're a continuum. You and I in the audience are continuums. This is where being able to be understanding of who we are and how our energy swings are simply that. They're moments. Fear is an energy swing. Gratitude is an energy swing. These are things that if we realize that they're only temporary, albeit we can make them more than temporary, both in a draining catabolic state where we just retreat, or we choose to take the anabolic where we're going to fill and get out of retreat. And we're going to be able to accept who we are and not be fearful. There's no reason for fear. Bring it in. Bring it in. Welcome it. Hi, fear, you're here. I know you're here. And guess what, fear? I chose to say you're not going to stay. And you're going to go away.
That reminds me one of my favorite quotes. And I'd like try to reproduce this. The the level of mind's evolution is accepting the unacceptable.
So good. So good, SoFeya.
This is a beautiful story, Kurt. Thank you for sharing the story. It's
Thank
really,
you,
yeah.
SoFeya, for having me, really. You're very special, and I'm very privileged. Thank you.
It's a beautiful connection that you had with your father and your grandfather. Kurt, what would you say the professionalism mean to you? What does it mean to you?
Professionalism for me is quite simple and maybe deep. That whatever we can help others help themselves with, to me, that's professional. We're here to partner, not anything more than that with one another. And if the audience can embrace that and really dive into it and engage in it, the ability to achieve our desired intentions are fabulous. Though they might not be all of what we desire or all the intention, it's certainly enough because we gave 100%.
Hmm. What is your biggest strength as a professional?
As a professional, my biggest, I'm sorry.
Your biggest strength. Your biggest strength as a
Yes,
professional.
yes. As is identifying immediately with the client or clients, because it is about them, and to gain trust both ways, transparency and honesty.
Hmm. What
Then
would
we
you?
can,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was
Sorry.
going to say, then we can all thrive together, right? That's a win-win.
What would you say your biggest weakness as a professional is?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Certainly that's a good question. The immediate thought is empathy, but empathy is a beautiful thing. I enjoy being empathetic. I enjoy being compassionate. If there's any sort of downfall in Kurt, it's that I like to continue, and that sometimes may be difficult for others, but for me, it's very natural. So is engaging the others to understand if it's natural for myself, it is certainly natural for you. So that's where I like to dig out of that a little bit.
What has been a lesson or advice that stuck with you?
Yes. As we talked about, choice is everywhere, yeah? It's a continuum, is everywhere and a constant. Well, conscious choice is so much more empowering. And we are talking, the underlying theme here is our self empowerment, our being able to express our who, our understanding our who to be who we are. They're interchangeable. So, with all that, I think it's really important that we are able to stay in that continuum and to relate it to one another as much as possible. Remember, SoFeya, it's very important that everyone we meet is our teacher and our student too.
Always.
Always.
It's even I don't know, like there is like geometrical formula, and it's the way it's designed. It's always shows how you're in the middle, in a sense. So there is something always above you that is your teacher, and there is something always that's below you that is a student. And so, but you always have to look up because there is always a teacher in front of you. Everything you see is a teacher. And if you don't accept that as that bites you in the butt big time, all the time.
So true. It is. We're looking right at it all the time.
It's
Knowledge is a very important thing, and however we show up with it is our choice. But to be able to communicate,
I think bringing that forward is so important because also a lot of times as we grow older, we may think, well, I've had all these lessons and I have all this wisdom and I know it. And who are you? A younger person is not, doesn't understand these things because they haven't lived through the lessons that we have lived through. And it's so humbling to recognize, oh, wait a second, this younger person actually is way ahead of me. And there is much that I can learn from that. And it's so it's tricky in that point to recognize and see that the younger ones have so much more to bring in. But at the same time, for the younger ones to have that humility to see the gift of wisdom of the older ones, and that's where that dance comes in that perspective.
so important to recognize that. And another thing that's important for us, SoFeya, is that no matter who we're speaking to be cognizant to be conscious of the fact that they're a different generation if they're not our peers. If they're not our peers, they're a different generation. To speak and listen to the generation's language. And the younger people really strive for that because they're so used to hearing these limited beliefs that our grandparents taught our parents, that our parents have taught us, that we're to hand down to our children. Limiting beliefs, really not it. Is it a basis? Yes. Is it applicable what our parents taught us for us to teach younger generations? No. No. There is a benchmark for it, that for sure. Not to do away with history. Reflection is great. Reflection of what our grandparents, parents, etc. have taught us was applicable then. It's not applicable now, particularly in this day and age, transferring from the analogic world into the digital. And having said that, the younger generation has a firmer hold on the language of the digital than we do, albeit the older generation, I should say, the above 30s and 35s, right? If we're born after 2000, we don't know what 2000 YK was. What is that? You were all fearful that everything was going to drop? The whole universe was going to go dark? Well, how silly is that? Well, to us, it wasn't because we're going from the analog into the digital. So it was a very serious thing. Now, the 20-year-olds today, because they're born in 2000, 2001, they certainly weren't able to understand all that. So they look back at it now. There lies a difference in generation that's important for us at all levels, where we're reaching above our generation, in our generation, or below. Speak the language.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Kurt, what has you dealer fired up right now? What is one thing that can start fire under your butt now?
Oh my goodness. For the people that it's so gracious to hear people really start to talk about themselves in a way that's who they are, who they want to be, how they be that way, instead of putting it in material form. My home, my clothes, all these material things, yes, they're there for us. Are they required? To a point. But the most important part is understanding who we are as individuals and applying that to who we want to be in the moment so we can have the best success posse and formula to achieve our intentions to the best of our ability because we know 100% is good enough.
What would you say your first 60 minutes of your day look like ideally?
Ideally, it's a wake up. I rest in bed for a few minutes, then I'm up, and then it's a glorious day because it's new. Oh, it's so beautiful to wake up and know it's a new day. And to apply that immediately into what we say. You know, it's interesting that the neuroscientists have identified that we have 70,000 plus thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are from yesterday. How important is it to understand that and to get up out of bed and immediately get the body in action? Because now the body's speaking to the mind and the energy, saying, I'm up, we're ready, let's go. It's a new day. How glorious is that?
If my signature question to you, imagine that your name changed today and you are no longer called Kurt and you have to choose a new name out of these four: success, trust, courage, or passion. Which of these names would you choose and what would change in your life as a result?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of those instilled in me, but passion really resonates. I think that the passion opens us up to vulnerability. And with the vulnerability of each one of us, we're able to relate to other people. And if people can see that in us and we can display it and show the action of it and give them the compassion, people will open up. And then we go into the
Oh,
process.
you changed it from passion to compassion.
Yeah, I did a little bit, but it is my passion. It is my passion to be compassionate.
Hmm. I love that as a combination.
They are. Yes.
Kurt, thank you. This was such an amazing interview. Your authenticity and energy of how you share your heart and your passion shines so through for what you're doing for living. I mean, it's not just your profession. It really feels that this is just your way of life. Tell us where people could find you.
Oh, thank you, SoFeya, for those kind words. That's very nice of you. Again, it's who you are, and this is why we resonate together. And I really appreciate all of it today, and who you are. Absolutely, you're
Thank you.
fabulous in every way. So I
Mm.
thank you for that. I can be reached directly through my email, which is my name, Kurt Bruckmann 1111 at gmail.com. And please, I invite people to get through to me through via text or a call on my cell, 732-996-9561. Be more than happy to engage people there. And as well as my company site, Continuum Core Coaching. I can be reached through that on Facebook. So thank you for that.
We'll after we're finished with the interview, we'll post this in the comments. How's that?
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we will make sure that everyone gets this information at the end.
Thank
All
you.
right, professionals, thank you so much for tuning in to our first show of the year, the Professionals on Air podcast, a podcast where we discuss how to walk, talk, live, and grow authentically as a professional in the 21st century. If you want to be a featured guest, please send me a direct message. And to learn more about Kurt and what he does, connect with him in his email or Facebook. The link is going to be provided in the comments. And we appreciate your comments and feedback and can't wait to see you next Wednesday, where I will introduce you to Kylie Horrell. And she is a business coach specialized in designing, building, and scaling businesses virtually from nothing. Don't miss that. As always, send us your questions. Ciao.